All right, our next question, Jim, sent via the Cult of Cornette Facebook group, sent by Chris Connor. How was the Earthquake and Yoko sumo match devised?
Oh,
And why did Yoko job the Tenta, as he was much more over than him at that point?
oh, good Lord. I was not on the creative team at that point, so I don't know the evolution of how the idea came from inspiration to fruition. I was just there to see the result of it. It was an idea that Vince was going to like because Vince likes big guys. Vince likes gimmicks like this. And definitely at that time, also in the early 90s, he liked stuff like that. He liked Yoko being a sumo, which we talked about in the Yokozuna biography on A&E. And he knew also that Earthquake, he loved Earthquake because he was huge, but John Tenta was a legitimate sumo wrestler, whereas Yokozuna, Rodney, never was. That was just his gimmick. But Tenta, before he was a pro wrestler in Japan, had competed at a high level. And so that fact was brought up to him. And I'm sure Bruce, maybe, I don't know if Pat was involved in that. That may have been when, at some point when Pat was on a break, but I would have to think that maybe Pat would have known that it probably wouldn't have worked out stellarly in the ring in actual execution. But the point was they took the ropes off the fucking ring and had Yoko, who at that point was easily 600 and something pounds, and Tenta, who was what, 450, you think, Brian, or 425, somewhere around there.
Yeah, maybe around there. I don't think he was as heavy as then.
Well, but also he was deceptively tall. He was like 6'3", 4 or 5, something like that. But the point is, they had no ropes on the ring. They had to bull and push each other until somebody went to the floor. Well, think about how do you take a bump to the floor out of a ring with no ropes on it? It's not, and you're that size, right? It wasn't going to be spectacular anyway. And it ended up that Yoko just took a bump on the apron and rolled off to the floor. But otherwise, there was nothing they could do. And Earthquake at that point wasn't particularly over as a babyface that the fans were going to be rabid about this thing. They were more rabid than I imagined they would be when I saw it, just because they were the early 90s WWF fans and Yoko had heat. But it was brutal. And I think they did a couple of those. But it was just bull and push and whatever until somebody goes to the floor.